Maple Leafs GM Brad Treliving gives his state of the franchise address as Troy Stecher makes his Maple Leafs debut. Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writers Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan. And guys, before the Maple Leafs ended their ugly 5-game slide with an OT win over the Blues on Tuesday, Maple Leafs GM Brad Treliving met with the media, as GMs tend to do at this time of the year. Treliving spoke about how the team's record was indicative of how they've played, and he would call the team's identity vanilla at one point. Terry, we'll start with you. What were your biggest takeaways from Treliving's presser?
Well, really, as to how the Leafs get out of this, nothing in the way of clarity. I mean, throwing his weight behind Berube, which isn't a surprise, and I guess acknowledging publicly that in a way that trades are difficult to make, and I think that had he had the ability to make one by now, he would have to improve the team, as he likes to say, but it hasn't happened. Given the cap restraints and the fact they want money out, and if you're going to bring money in, they have no choice there. But it's people looking for change or hoping for change. It's just not going to come anytime soon, if at all. And certainly last night, beating the Blues had to be the first step, although it wasn't pretty. I don't think it really matters. 2 points or 2 points to the Leafs at this point, and they'll take them any way they can get them. But yeah, it was just more of a stay the course. But the other thing for me out of Treliving was, he like anybody else, he couldn't put a finger on why the Leafs have struggled as badly as they have, or through this last stretch here, and are fighting the Buffalo Sabres and Washington Capitals to stay out of the Eastern Conference basement. So it has to come from within, and I don't think that's really a surprise to anybody. But now we're about to find out in this next little stretch, with one home game remaining and 6 on the road, kind of this team's makeup and what they're able to do. Injuries are a factor, of course, and Treliving didn't blame it on anything on that. But stay the course, put your nose to the grindstone and keep going and see where it gets them. But, certainly no big changes are coming around the corner.
Yeah, my takeaway, obviously, if you took the temperature in the room, the honeymoon period with Brad Treliving as GM is definitely over. There's been, there's last year's playoffs and now this year's sputtering start and a lot of issues. Now, that's not to say that Brad isn't facing the same issues that a lot of other teams that are scuffling right now. Those GMs are having the same issues with injuries, inabilities to make trades and that kind of thing. So there's definitely a concern there, but there are things out of his control. Terry alluded to the injuries, and just as much as the previous GM could not, Kyle Dubas could not control injuries. Could not control the flat cap, which affected a lot of what he was trying to do. So, he's now realizes the job in front of him. He knows it's a long season ahead. It would help if he had some healthy bodies, but it goes before that. I mean, before people were getting hurt, this team wasn't playing well, and now he's got a bit to answer for it. That goes back really to last year, to not having a great return on the deals he made at the deadline, to for whatever reason, not so much their own personal play, but maybe just inheriting the system they're in. Michelli, Nicholas Waugh, Dakota Joshua haven't been as effective as hoped. So a lot of things he's got to grapple with, starting with ending the losing streak. We'll have to see how the week churns that way, but good for them to get out of it. But a lot of work still ahead for Treliving and coach Craig Berube.
Of course, on the injury front, it just continues to get worse. Matthew Nye's not playing yesterday either. We'll see what his status is here moving forward on Thursday against Columbus. But as I mentioned, the Leafs 3-2 winners over St. Louis, and a recent waiver pickup. Troy Stecher made his Maple Leafs debut. Lance, 13-31 was a +1. What did you make of his first game, and what do you think he can provide this team?
Well, the people in Edmonton and his other stops were saying, a character guy and perfect for this Leaf team. And a lot of times, how many times have you seen Leafs who didn't fit on the roster here make an impact elsewhere? I'm curious to see, obviously, what David Kampf can do in Vancouver, but that's, that remains to be seen. But there's other, third and fourth line guys who've thrived elsewhere. Now here's a chance for this guy to come in. He's needed. He's got a lot of experience, 500 plus games. He can move the puck. Terry actually spoke to him himself a couple of days ago, and really impressed, as a lot of people were, about his commitment to make this work in Toronto. And any help right now is certainly welcome, because they've had inconsistencies in the blue line and trying to play the kind of defense they played last year has been an issue. And any help that can come in, especially with the injuries to Tanev and Carlo, is going to be welcome.
One thing Stecher said to us on Monday was, his feet are a real bonus asset, attribute, whatever. And then what happens last night? He's in the play a lot. He's not getting burned in the defensive zone, making good decisions. He led the Leafs in possession, the underlying numbers. So it was a good debut. Now, the interesting thing with Stecher for me is he's the antithesis of what Berube and Treliving like in their D-man, right? He's not big. He's not long, the words that Tree likes to use. Small guy, but, as he said on Monday, chip on his shoulder, 7th NHL team in 10 years. And he's, been told no a lot. And here he's still plugging away, as Lance said, with more than 500 games on his NHL resume. So I thought he had a nice debut. Now you have to keep it going. He did that on a pairing with Dakota Mermis, another guy who hasn't played much. So we'll see where this goes when people start coming back. But the fact that Stetcher's a right-handed shot also is a bonus for him. And I just thought he, for one game, and as I wrote last night, it's an awfully small sample size. It's what you want from him, and he demonstrated what he can do. Now it's like the rest of him, you keep it going forward. But I just like that he came in and, he spoke like a veteran on Monday and a guy who's not too concerned about, not ruffling feathers, but just seemingly comfortable right away. And he made the notice saying, he met the team in Chicago, went to the team dinner, rookie dinner with everybody, so got to know them that way, a little bit of an odd way rather than walking into a dressing room and trying to figure out who's who. So a good start for him. But, as Jake McCabe said last night, speaking about the team as a whole, it's 2 points. It doesn't matter. Now you got to do it the next night again against Columbus. And the same goes for Stecher to have another good game on Thursday night.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, did Stecher not draw a penalty last night too? So that was
that hold in the
and and we hear about Treliving talk about long defensemen. How many times last year did he mention, poor Hackenpah about how much length he was going to add to the Leafs, and it's a
that was never going to happen.
Injury situation, but anyway, it was something that he wanted and didn't get. But if Stecher, whatever, 5'10", all 5'10" of them can help, that's a good situation at this stage.
Yeah, one game in the books, but a pretty good game for Troy Stecher. We'll see if the Leafs can keep that momentum rolling at home against Columbus on Thursday before starting a 6-game road trip on Saturday in Montreal. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Terry Koshan and Lance Hornby, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.